fun.
What?
Our day is not over just yet.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for February 12th, 2026. Thank you for joining me. You can watch. I'm going to start with the watching today because I always forget and do it at the end, but you can watch the show if you would like. Just go to Facebook, 97.3 The Fan, or you can go to my Skraby Show YouTube. It has all of the Skrabinators in there at the Skraby Show. And you could also go to the YouTube for 97.3 The Fan and my Twitter at Matt Skraby. Plus, if you just want to listen and not see this ugly mug, then you can go to the Odyssey app and type in 97.3 The Fan, and you will be able to hear the show and hear all the different segments we've already done on Gwen and Chris. If you don't know, the Odyssey app chapters everything. So all Frank, Paul, and myself, we chapter for the Odyssey app, which means that we break it down. Each segment has a title. Sometimes my titles are great. Sometimes my titles are not, because I feel like I've written 10 million blurbs for sports radio in the last 8 years. So sometimes I just can't figure it out. But go to the Odyssey app, type in 97.3 The Fan, look for Gwen and Chris or the Skraby Show, and you will find it. We're going to hear from AJ Preller. He was out at spring training today talking to the media. We're going to hear from Craig Stammen about Miguel and Andujar. And we're going to also talk about Nick Castellanos real quick, because we talked about it on the show, but he admitted, I was saying last night, one day we're going to figure out why Nick Castellanos and Rob Thompson dislike each other. And we found out today. So I only had to wait a day for that. And that's great. And maybe there's more to the story, but for the most part, Nick Castellanos wrote a letter and put it online. And he said that he brought beer into the dugout. He was removed from a game. He was angry about it. I believe this is in a place where his family and friends were watching. So he was removed from the game. He went into the clubhouse. He got a beer. He came back out to the dugout. And then I guess he sat down next to the manager. And while with the beer, he was telling the manager what he didn't like and what he thinks is wrong with the team. And the manager was not happy about that. Now, Nick Castellanos does say he thanks his a coach and a teammate for coming over and getting the beer away from him before he ended up drinking it. But honestly, I don't. Maybe I'm just jaded because I used to drink a lot, and I understand that it's bad to bring a beer into a dugout. But to have the fallout that they did, there's got to be more to the story. Maybe it's just the years that they spent together, and they just started getting on each other's nerves as they went along. But I do think that if this is why they are in if this is why the Phillies are willing to release him, which they did today, and pay the $20 million salary, that tells me there's something else there, or they just don't believe that he is the player that he is, and they don't even want to deal with it this year. So $20 million, man, they're going to be paying that. So he can sign with a team for a league minimum if he would like to. And I don't know that the Padres have room for him. I don't. He doesn't play great defense. He can hit, but his numbers have been declining each year, so I don't know if the Padres are going to look in this direction for Nick Castellanos. But again, it's kind of crazy that this all came down to bringing a beer into the dugout. But Mime on the chat says, I'm sure that was the boiling point. I'm sure too that it was the boiling point. There's probably some stuff that led up to it. And then Nick Castellanos was like, you know what? I'm going to blow everything up, and I'm going to go get a beer and drink it in the dugout. All right. Let's let's just get right into it. Let's get right into it with AJ Preller. He was out at spring training today. Sammy Lev out there as well. But here is, I think everybody's not concerned, but everybody's wondering about his contract situation. But here is AJ Preller being asked about it.
How come you don't have a contract extension?
I mean, again, continue to talk to John, and I think again, it's something that like anything, it's like when the time's right, the moment's right. Hoping to line up on something, hoping to have something here that that can focus me back on the field and go from there. But we'll see where it goes in the next couple of days.
You can go back to our Twitter or our Facebook, but 97.3 The Fan SD has all these clips if you want to hear the full clip because it's 3 minutes long. But there you go. And we talked about this earlier, and I'm not like worried or anything like that. But the more we get closer to the season, the more I wonder. Like, is this because the team is taking bids? And is this because they're selling the team? Do they not want to put him under contract in case someone who's willing to buy the team doesn't want him to be a part of the package? Now, I don't know how much AJ Preller makes, but I can't see someone. Let's just say I honestly don't know how much he makes, but I'll say $1 million. I can't see that being a breaking point. I mean, if someone doesn't want him, then you can't force an owner to keep someone on the staff, but I don't know why they wouldn't keep him for at least a couple more years, especially if they're like a Joe Lacob who, doesn't really have professional baseball running experience. He has professional basketball running experience, but I would think that AJ Preller would be an asset, and he would add value to the whole thing because you have a guy who has put together teams that have gone to the playoffs the last couple of years, and although they haven't made it as far in the playoffs as we all want them to, they're still in the playoffs. And Chris says this all the time, and Chris is right for saying it. Name a better 5-year stretch in regards to wins and playoffs than what the Padres have done the last 5 years. You can't, because they have been really good. So when I see all these comments on this tweet, like, he hasn't gotten us to a World Series, he needs to go, he's ruining this team, I have no idea what people are looking at. I really don't. Yes, it's a fact. He has not gotten this team to a World Series, but it's also a fact that he has put this team in a position to get to the World Series. And so when you're getting to the playoffs and there is just the players aren't performing, to me, that's not in the GM. The GM's job is to set up the roster so that they can win and win a lot of games. And that's what AJ did. So I think it was Gator Padre earlier who said something along the lines of, well, yeah, AJ missed all those pitches when he was playing, which is, obviously not true. He's not a player. So I don't understand why everybody's so mad at AJ Preller. I guarantee that a new GM would come in and those people that are complaining about AJ Preller would complain about the new GM. So maybe it's just like, hey, we just want to complain. That's what we're going to do, is complain. But to anyone who is thinking that he is the problem, I can't agree with you on that. You can have that opinion, but I cannot agree with you on that. Catchers. We've talked about the catcher situation. We've talked about Luis Campusano, but AJ Preller was asked what kind of role he envisions for Luis Campusano.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year, obviously, in AAA, he went out and was, played very well. Hopefully, not an easy situation for him. He feels like he's a big league player, and he went down to AAA, but he handled himself really well in that setting. He could have sat there and complained or, kind of felt sorry for himself. He went down there and just tried to get better, and he had a great year. I think it's going to help him out a lot here this year. And in terms of Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's as good a catching tandem as you can have. Like that's, we want those guys to, between the two of them, they have good skill sets. I think their skills should complement each other. Campy's a super hard worker. Our staff has, he's caught no hitters. He's been on, winning teams a few years ago when we were, I think, the 24 year. And we played better with Campy starting than we did record wise with Higgy starting. So, he's capable. I think for us, it's like you need that catching group and that catching tandem with him or for me to be something that I think when we look at our team this year, that can be an area of improvement for us than having those guys from the start, expecting him to kind of take what he did at AAA last year and what we've seen for stretches in the big leagues and turn that into consistent performance for us. And that would be a big addition, honestly, somebody that's already in-house here. So expect him to play a real role for us this year.
I hope so. I hope it's better than last year. He was tearing it up at AAA, but he didn't even get a hit at the major league level last year. We've seen a good Campusano, we've seen bad Campusano, but I think the reason that he's in the mix is because that's not a word, because they have spent so much time trying to develop Luis Campusano. They have spent many years trying to get this guy to a point where he is an everyday catcher, at least a backup catcher. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I don't know if they're just going to run him out there because they have all of this investment in him. And if he doesn't perform, when are they going to pull the plug if he doesn't perform? Because again, we have seen Luis Campusano hit. And so I don't know where that goes. And obviously, baseball is a lot harder than I'm making it right now. But if he could become a major player on this team, that would be icing on the cake. Because there's some depth for you right there. And again, I understand why they want to see what he has. I think it was a couple months ago I said, we already know what he has. So why are you bringing him back? And the answer is in the time they've invested on him. And they probably also think that the talent is there. The talent is right there. Dwayne said last year Schilt wouldn't use him. How can you stay fresh if you're getting an at-bat every 3 days? Well, you can't, but I feel like when you're a player that gets called up from the minor leagues, I feel like you have to perform right out the gate. They don't have time for you to settle into a groove. Now, last year they had Maldonado, they had Diaz, they had Campusano, and then obviously Freddie Fermin after the trade deadline. But it doesn't. I'm just not. I feel like the talent is there, but I haven't seen him put it all together. So hopefully this is the year. I'm going to be positive about it, and then you all can make fun of me later for being so positive about it. All right, this is the Skraby Show. I am Matt Skraby. We still have some more from AJ Preller. We have some more from Craig Stammen, and then at the end of the show, obviously, we got a daily gripe. But San Diego is losing millions in golf course revenue, and I am shocked to find this out because golf is very expensive, but I'll touch on it when we get back, or not when we get back, but by the end of the show here on the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how, here on 97.3 The Fan, the Skraby Show. I am Matt Skraby. We're going to talk a little bit more about what was said this morning at spring training for the Padres. We are also I'm going to give you an update right here on something we talked about last week, but the Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz gambling investigation is taking some turns. And so we talked about it last week that Clase was there were 250 pitches at least identified in which bets were placed. So Clase was heavily involved in this, it seems, from what we've been told. But Luis Ortiz, on the other side, his lawyer is arguing that he was among those that was duped by teammate Emmanuel Clase, and they're trying to separate the two. Right now, it's a co-defendant thing. So it's Clase and Ortiz in the same thing. And so they're trying to separate Clase from Ortiz because Clase obviously was much more involved. The reports show that Ortiz was accused of rigging just 2 pitches in the original indictment, and prosecutors said that number has not changed. So I do think that's a major difference. If someone is kind of the ringleader throwing over 250 pitches in which bets were placed, then you have someone who had only 2 pitches that bets were placed that they can identify. That's a major difference. And so I can understand why he wants to get himself out of the co-defendant spot with Emmanuel Clase. But it's a very complicated thing. And this is going to go on for a while. It's going to go on for a long time, which makes me think, it brings me back. I'm sorry, I'm going to do this. It brings me back to the Ippei and Shohei thing. Like, this investigation has been going on since late last season. The Shohei and Ippei thing was closed in about a month, and I might be giving it extra time. It may have been less time than that. So again, I am a conspiracy theorist at heart, and I do think it's very strange that Shohei was cleared so quickly, but they're not even to the court process yet with Clase and Ortiz. But I digress. I'm never going to be able to prove it. Never going to be able to prove it. And I know there are people with me, but it's a very strange situation. Anyway, this is going to get worse before it gets better. And Luis Ortiz, if he was indeed duped by Clase, then I'm sorry that he was duped. I don't think he should face the same punishment as Emmanuel Clase. So that's the latest on that story. Let's go back to our audio tour of spring training. And here is, we talked about this a little bit on the show, but manager Craig Stammen was asked about Miguel Andujar and what kind of role he envisions for him.
What about Andujar? Where do you envision deploying him in the field or at DH?
Yeah, Andujar's, obviously, like, his number one trait is being a great hitter, especially against left-handed pitching. We're going to try him out at first base. I think in the field, he's came up as a third baseman with the Yankees, so he's got that in the back of his pocket, and then he's played a little left field. So those kind of 3 spots are where we're looking at for him. But anyway, we can sneak his bat in the lineup. That's kind of what we're going to try to do.
Could you see him being the primary DH against lefty pitching?
Yeah, I could see him for sure being that. Like, he's going to get a lot of at-bats, whether that's lefties or righties. But, we got a weapon against the left-handed pitching.
So I'm just going to go back to what Tony said earlier. Sounds like he's going to be mostly a hitter. That's why he's brought in, is to be a lefty specialist. And I'm fine with that because Miguel Andujar was very good against lefties last year and has been very good against lefties overall. So I'm good with that. Like, I don't know that he is the kind of defender that they want. Definitely not on an everyday basis. maybe a spot start here and there, but it's we're starting to see we're starting to get some answers, and we'll keep getting answers. But now that we kind of know that Miguel Andujar is going to be the lefty specialist DH, it makes us think who else is going to be a DH. Do they even have that DH on the team? Is that DH still to be acquired? Who knows? Who knows? But I'm excited to see what Miguel Andujar can do, because as you heard Craig Stammen say, they got a lefty weapon off the bench, and Padres haven't had a lefty weapon like that off the bench in quite so. And I say lefty, he bats well against lefties, so that's why I'm saying lefty. But the Padres haven't had someone like this in a little bit, not in the last couple of years. That is for sure. I think that's it for our audio today. I think we're good with our audio today, because it's just some more. You know what? Actually, I lied to everybody. I lied. I want to hear this one. I want to hear, before I talk about him just being a DH. I should have done this earlier, but Craig Stammen was asked about Andujar's ability to actually play first base.
With Andujar, obviously he's played some first base, but not a ton of first base. Is the ideal scenario for him a situation where you can, sort of plug him in there at first base with a degree of regularity?
Yeah, I think, we've got Gavin can play first base. He's done really good so far with the stuff that we've seen defensively at first. And we obviously know what he can do with the bat. Obviously he's better against right-handed pitching. He did a little bit better against left-handed pitching last year. So he could be an option to be the everyday first baseman. But, are there days where we got a tough lefty on the mound and we'd rather give him a day off? He's been grinding. It would be nice to have another option to stick over there at first base and then put a guy like Andujar in the lineup, that can mash some lefties.
Well, there you go. I still don't think he's going to play much defensively. I still think he's probably going to be more of a DH. They do need someone who's able to spell Gavin Sheets, but is anybody not worried, but is anybody concerned that they're putting all of their eggs in the Gavin Sheets basket? I mean, still, the roster can be built out. They still have time to sign guys. So this take could be completely proven wrong in the next day or so. But do we think that Gavin Sheets is going to be able to handle the rigors of a full season and being an everyday player and playing at first base? I would tend to say yes, because of what we've seen from him. He seems like a guy who can do that, but he hasn't done it yet. So we're going to have to see it before we what is it? Not verdict. Before we figure it out. That's what I'll say. Sometimes my brain just stops working in the middle of talking, and that's not a good thing for me. That's not a good thing for me. Let's go to the chat. Dominic says, I think it's going to be refreshing hearing Stam answer questions this year. Of course, all may change when they struggle. That is true, Dom. Manny, I love Gavin Sheets. I think playing every day will get him into his groove. Okay, I can buy that. Johnny says, not worried. We have Crony as backup. That's true. I think more of my Gavin Sheets worry is when last year we saw him struggle. It was a prolonged struggle, but he came back, and being an everyday player is in his future. I'm just a little not concerned, not even worried, not nervous, but I'm curious to see how a full season goes with him, Gavin Sheets, at first base. Speaking of first base, Luis Arraez spoke earlier this week with the Giants media, and he said something that I know made some Padres fans roll their eyes. But Luis Arraez, I'm just going to read it because I can't get the video to load for some reason. Luis Arraez said he doesn't plan to change his offensive approach despite lower numbers in 24 and 25. he added that the concussion he sustained last season affected everything. And I can believe that it affected everything. But not there's something, and Luis Ariz is a great hitter. I'm not going to tell Luis Ariz how to hit, but not planning your approach after lower numbers in 24 and 25, I would think that you would kind of think about that a little bit. I would think you would think, hey, I had my lowest batting average of my career last season. I need to figure it out. And I'm not coming down on Luis Ariz. I just, I know that there was a certain player in the past here in San Diego who said they weren't going to change anything about their approach, even though they had dipping numbers. And I know that people really didn't like that guy. So Luis Ariz, we're going to, I think that in the end, we're going to miss the guy, but that was a concerning statement from him that he doesn't plan to change his offensive approach despite lower numbers in 24 and 25. So I guess if the Padres brought him back, we could say that Luis Ariz would have been the same player that he was last year, which is still a pretty darn good player. But I don't know if second base is going to be the right place for him. We've talked about second base in the past with Luis Ariz, and I believe he said it's his favorite position to play. He'll play anywhere, obviously. And he did, I think he did a serviceable job at first base last year. But second base seems like a position that's a little bit more of a beast for him because he has to have a little bit more range. And we'll see how the Giants, as the year goes along, if they change things, if they change him into a different position because second base isn't working out. But hey, I'm happy for Luis Ariz to get some money. Not happy that he's in the same division. Someone says, I think the Padres changed something in him that wasn't good. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't think they messed with him too much. I definitely thought I definitely thought he should have. Last year we talked about many times. I felt like he should have been dropped in the lineup for a little bit. And again, it's not like a demotion. It's not like an indictment on how bad you are as a baseball player. But I think they needed to drop him. Oh, they continued with they did something to him. Guy comes off 2 straight titles to 290. Seems to happen a lot here in SD. I would probably think that some of that is the ballpark. I would have to think some of that is the ballpark. Because with a guy without power hitting in a ballpark that is a pitcher-friendly park, seems like it would affect him a little bit. It seems like it would. But Luis Ariz was great here in San Diego. I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but I am a little concerned that he's not going to change his approach from the last 2 years. So maybe that will work out in all of our favors. All right. When we get back, we're going to do a little update on... I actually don't have an update. Let's go into the golf course issue that we're having here in San Diego. So I'll explain when we get back here on the Skraby Show. Almost said Gwen and Chris. It's been that kind of week on 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and
All guests on 97.3 The Fan. Join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. Matt Skraby, Skraby Show, final segment of the Skraby Show for the week. All three of us will be back tomorrow. Chris will be in Reno, but he will be joining the show. Tony and I will be here in San Diego. And then tomorrow is the last show that Tony is in studio before he heads out to Peoria. And we never get to see him again, or at least until the end of the baseball season. It's a very sad day. We all, at the end of the baseball season, we are, sad because we're all into it and it's the playoff time and all that. But then Tony gets, to come back to the studio. We all get to hang out, have fun. But then when he leaves, it's very sad because we never, as I said, get to see him again. Let's go to the chat real quick because there was a comment. I believe it was from XB. Arise got a concussion last year. Yes, he did get a concussion, and he did say that affected him. And I'm not going to say that he's lying because I believe it. I guess when I'm thinking about a player and how they performed, part of me doesn't think about the concussion because it didn't seem to be a major issue throughout the rest of the year. Now, I mean, we have NFL players and college players get concussions a lot, and then they're out for quite a while. And it seems very serious, but I guess we don't think about that in baseball as a concussion being something that, is something that he, I just didn't realize that he was going to have to work through it for the rest of the year. I've had a couple concussions in my life, and I could tell you that it's not easy. Your head hurts. They weren't serious concussions. They were high school football concussions. Luis Arise did get hit pretty hard in that game against the Astros. And so maybe I should have thought about that last year. Didn't, but he did say the concussion affected him. So I will give that to him. Dwayne says, just look how getting hit in the head screwed Austin Nola's career. Yeah, that was in spring training. It messed up everything. He had a hard time seeing. I believe he took a foul ball off the face when he was catching, off the mask. But I can 1,000% think a catcher would be affected by a concussion for sure because they're getting hit by that ball all the time. XB also says Merrill declined as well from his. He did have a concussion. He got tagged on the head, I believe, against Arizona. Last year was a very interesting and strange year for Jackson Merrill. It was a stop and start type of year. He started the year great, got hurt with the hamstring, was out for a while, came back, got hit in the head on a tag, got a concussion, went out again. So it wasn't very easy for him at all. Dominic makes a great point. I think any concussion is a serious concussion. High school or not, it's your brain. That is true. That is true. I listen to this fantasy football podcast all the time, and it's the ESPN fantasy podcast. And what's her name? Stefania Bell. She's like the medical person on that podcast. But she always gets really mad when people try to discount concussions because they're very serious, and no two concussions are the same, which obviously I believe. So maybe I should give more credence to that. I honestly, we really didn't hear anything about it going forward. So I was like, kind of shocked when he said that. But anyway, let's go to this golf story. And I know people are like, golf, really? You want to go to a golf story? Well, I think it's a good story to talk about because it affects all of us here in San Diego, and it affects the general fund here in San Diego. Fox 5 did a story on this, and I think I'm just going to let it play through. It's like 2 minutes, And if you want to watch, you can go to my YouTube at the Skraby Show, and it's like 46 minutes in. But here is the news report.
Even on a rainy day, diehard golfers are still hitting city golf courses like Kalina Park, and not just because they love the game.
Kalina First Tee helps the kids, and I know like our round the money goes back to the kids in the program.
While they're trying to hit it straight, a city audit committee is trying to keep the financial numbers in line by revealing ways to improve profits from the city's leased golf properties to maximize revenue during a time when San Diego is dealing with a $250 million budget shortfall.
If we are not managing our assets appropriately, I think we are doing more of a disservice to the public.
While reading the audit, I was struck at how much revenue Fairbanks Ranch was bringing in, but how little in pay the city was obtaining.
The city owns 11 courses, including Torrey Pines, and leases out 8 of them. The audit found that in the 2024 calendar year, the golf course land leases brought in $3.7 million in revenue.
The Fairbanks Ranch Country Club is making close to $17 million. The audit states that reappraising the Fairbanks Ranch lease at the earliest possible opportunity could bring in approximately $2.5 million in additional general fund revenue.
On the other end of that spectrum, Kalina Park had more than $800,000 in revenue in 2024, but only paid the city just over $4,000.
If rounds data were consistently reported, the city could identify underperforming courses and investigate the underlying causes.
In other words, the audit found that the city must do a better job monitoring course performance, and not only financially, but also by inspecting.
All right, I think everybody gets the gist of this, but that was Fox 5. Thank you for that report because you explained it really well. This is kind of a big deal, I think, because that's some big money that they're missing, and I really don't know where that money's going because golf is very expensive. I do have a major issue with, and I don't understand why the places that make so much money don't have to pay a fair amount of money. Now, Kalina Park, I haven't played there in a really long time, but you heard them say they made revenue of $800,000 and they only paid $4,000 to the city. I don't agree with that, but at the same time, if you're making $17 million a year with Fairbanks Ranch, you need to pay your fair share, and that would help us a little bit. We wouldn't have all this crazy stuff with the parking downtown. The one thing that scares me a lot about this is that we're going to have some golf courses closed down. And as a golfer, I am always searching for deals. I'm always trying to play new courses. And some of these golf courses, city-owned golf courses, are some of the best in San Diego. I think Balboa Park's 18-hole golf course, the long one, is a really, really great course. And if you have a city card, you are getting great value on that golf course. I even like the Balboa 9-hole golf course. I think that one is a great golf course as well for what it is. And I think I don't want them to go away, but I also don't think that the city should just be standing by and not collect their money. It's really, I'm not a fan of that, because if you can, let me start this over. I'm getting ahead of myself. I think if you are part of the community and you are being leased land by the city, part of being a part of the community is giving back to the community. Fairbanks Ranch is a private golf course. I've actually played there before. Very nice course. Very nice course. It's a private course. I believe you have to pay over $10,000 just to be a member of the course. So that's why I'm like, hey, you got to pay your fair share. Kalina Park, a much smaller golf course. I don't think they have $10,000 memberships, but a lot of that money goes back into the First Tee, which the First Tee is a program for kids where they go and they learn how to play golf and they get some golf clubs, and the PGA Tour is behind the First Tee. But I think they should redo all of this, and I think everybody should pay their fair share. And I hope they don't close any golf courses. I saw earlier that Tecolote Canyon, which I've played many times. I played with Chris. Tecolote Canyon, it said, Tecolote Canyon closing on Sunday after city terminates lease. I was like, what? What? And then I looked, and it was not closing, so it was fake news. It was actually just closing for construction repairs. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. I don't like to delve into the realm of politics at all, but I felt like I had to say something about it for sure. Now, I want to close with this. Now, I got to put it up on the screen because it's hilarious. I was sent this morning, and we talked about it yesterday or 2 days ago. The dog finder, the party app or whatever it's called, search party, the dog finder for Ring. People are very upset about it, and I can't figure out how to make this a full screen. But another company jumped right on this, and another company made a pretty funny ad in regards to this whole Ring search party thing. So here it is.
Wise just made a hilarious commercial. See for yourself.
This is Milo. Pets are family, but every year 10
I have no idea why I'm doing this. Hold on. I'm sorry, everybody. This is not working out for me right now. I'm just going to play it. You don't need to see the audio.
The ways we look for them haven't changed in
See the
years,
video.
except for all of these. But what if we could make finding one lost dog require the computational power of a small, dictator-led nation-state? Search Party from Ring uses AI to search through our tens of millions of cameras. We could find literally anyone, but we only use this technology to find lost dogs. Recently, we announced a partnership with over 5,000 law enforcement agencies, but we won't let them use this feature. This feature is just for dogs. Guess what? We've automatically opted your cameras in. Who has time to read settings? Not you. You're too busy being a hero, whether you know it or not. And the best part, it's free for everyone. We're just doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. Customers are loving Search Party, and so will you. Don't these nice images of kids reuniting with their lost dogs feel good? Look at this one. Doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy? There's absolutely no reason to go to wise.com and buy a camera with an SD card, because if you own all your own footage, you won't be able to help people find lost puppies. I'd tell you to join the neighborhood, but you're already in it. Search Party, way better than Wisecam, and definitely only for dogs.
So they're making fun of Ring for being some sort of AI apocalyptic state, some sort of 1984. They're all watching us at all times. I thought that was funny, and it's pretty amazing that they were able to put that out so fast. But it's called Wise, WYZE. And Mime's right. I love that Skraby said he doesn't like to get political and plays an ad criticizing our perpetual surveillance state. That is true. I don't have a message for the perpetual surveillance state other than I don't like being filmed if I don't know I'm being filmed. But this was more of a joke. It was lighthearted. I thought the ad was funny. I thought it was creative. I thought this is a way that a company is going to capture some of the market space, and this is the way the company is going to get people to know what their product is. Now, the whole thing with the SD card, that would be a little much, having to go get your SD card out of your camera all the time to download the footage. But it is interesting how all of this footage, I think it was Nancy Guthrie. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about that situation that's happening. There were cameras on her house, and I believe the subscription had expired, but they were able to retrieve it somehow. So even though it wasn't supposed to be recorded or something. I hope I'm not saying that too incorrect. But anyway, thought that was fun, so I brought it up.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
All right. My Daily Gripe is something that happened this morning. And it was when I was going to get some coffee before my other job, And the daily gripe is this. I couldn't believe it happened, actually. Someone took my coffee and claimed it was theirs. So what happened was I put my name in, Matt, black coffee. That's what I drink. Grande or Venti. Today it was Grande. So this person comes in. They yell, Matt, I'm on the other side of the store. And this random person just goes, oh, yeah, that's me. Grabs it and walks out before I'm even able to get over there. So this has happened to me twice in the last 2 months. I went to a do-it-yourself Mexican restaurant and ordered ahead. My meal wasn't there. Someone stole it. So I need to start naming my coffee or giving them a different name. But this was ridiculous. This guy literally just walked in, basically took the next cup. It's ridiculous. And so I had to go up, be like, hey, I think you gave my coffee to someone else. And they're like, well, where were you when we called your name? I was like, I was, over there, but that guy grabbed it so quick and he left. My daily gripe is stealing my coffee, stealing my food. People, pay for it. Come on. Just do it. All right. That's it for the Skraby Show for the week. Thank you to everyone. I will talk to you all tomorrow.
Chris Mack. Changes to both the American and Canadian squads between last year's four nations and the Winter Olympics were telling. The Canadians decided to add Tom Wilson to provide and combat the level of nuisance the Tkachuk brothers added to the American team. But the Americans decided to leave skill like that of Jason Robertson at home. Clearly the best two teams in the tournament, and as much as I'd love to see the Americans win gold, I'll be betting Team USA to finish with the silver at plus 275. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the BetMGM app today.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.